All right, yeah, let's go. All right, so thank you all for taking your time and giving me a bit of time here today. I know you're all busy still at the moment, but like I said, I'll try about half hour or so of this, and hopefully it's all good. And for the ways I think I told you all last week, it's to do with this course I'm involved in this Cert 4 in training and assessment. So the reason I'm doing the course, I think I told you, is because they want me to do the safe driver course that in class, like I'd probably be doing it here at Muswellbrook or whatever, and then do the in the car training as well. So as part of this course, I had to do the one last week and this week's two of these training modules. Like I said, not that I know it word perfect or what's involved in it, and you probably, like I said, thank you for giving me the opportunity to just do it rather than trying to do it all on Skype or Zoom or something. And that's what I think most ones are doing. But with this nice big room, like I said, you've all got your spacing and that, so that's good. So I'll just quickly show them that I have the 8 people here. Is that, I never know if it's showing everyone or not. Can't see it. It's all there. All right, so like I said, today I'll be presenting to you one of the units of the competency in the course that I'm presently involved in. This unit of competency I'll present to you today is in communicate in the workplace. And something I'm sure you all do here is communicate in this is your workplace, all the communication you do. So basically that's what this subject is today. And like I said, this unit describes the skills and knowledge required to communicate in the workplace, which is including gathering, conveying and receiving information and completing routine written correspondence. It applies to individuals who perform a range of routine workplace communication tasks using a limited range of practical skills and fundamental knowledge of effective listening, questioning and non-verbal communication in a defined context under direct supervision or with limited individual responsibilities. This hopefully will relate to you all here today, being that you're all required to communicate in the workplace, being either with fellow workmates, team members, and also with like I said, the job seekers that you're all here to help. All right, so to try and put this into a more structured way, I'll split the sort of competency up into the elements and then the performance criteria for each of those elements. Okay, so what the elements means is that the elements describe the essential outcomes. So the essential outcomes. So with these elements, for this competency, there is 3. So the first one is to gather, convey and receive information and ideas. The second one is to complete workplace documentation and correspondence. And the third one is to communicate in a way that responds positively to individual differences, which also involves what I'll talk about later with teamwork and stuff. Okay, so with the first element, which has been gather, convey and receiving information and ideas, there are several performance criteria. These criteria describe the performance needed to demonstrate achievement of the elements. So basically these performance criteria are what you here will need to demonstrate so as to show that you've achieved such, okay? So with the first element, which was gather, convey and receive information ideas, there are several performance criteria which I'll go through with you now. So you'll need to be able to collect information to achieve work responsibilities from appropriate sources. And I'm sure this relates to you here with your job seekers and stuff. This would relate probably more to you all here than me, where I'm just out in the car one-on-one with one person instructing them, where you've all got lots of job seeker and clients and must be dealing with this. Like I said, you know probably a lot more of it than I do, so bear with me. Okay. So you need to be able to use methods and or equipment to communicate appropriate ideas and information to the audience. I know it's... Yeah, so I'm sure that, like I said, these are programs on your computers and stuff that you apply and adapt to with the job seeking and stuff that you're involved with here. You'd have those set, like I said, you know a lot more about it than I do, what's on those your programs and so forth. But like I said, it's all there and that's what you're communicating with. All right, and you'll also need to be able to use effective listening and speaking skills in verbal communicate. I'd say this would differ from the various people you're communicating with. Like I said, you'd communicate much different to, say, a low intellect job seeker, say, than you would with your manager, or so. Like I said, you might have to explain things a lot, like I said, a lot slowly and more defined than you would with someone senior or manager to you. Okay, and like I said, and this is the same, even like I said, even me one-on-one with doing driving lessons, I might have to explain something to one of the students 5 or 6 times till it gets into their head what I want them to do, where some will pick it up after straight away and be doing exactly what you tell. And I'm sure you've all got clients like that as well. You've got to drum it into them a lot of times just to get them what you want to try and communicate to them, so forth. Okay, so you need to be able to recognise common cultural and other differences in people in the work context and make adjustments, like I said, to accommodate those differences. I'll just go through a couple of those types of verbal communications, which may assist you, like I said, if you need assistance with it. So like I said, verbal communication can happen in, like I said, many different ways between different people in various different situations. So the verbal communication can, like I said, either take place face-to-face, which I see you here when you've got your clients at the desk with you, you're communicating face-to-face. It could be synchronous, could be happening at the same time, like talking on the phone to someone. And it might be just a quick exchange between words, a quick text to them. I don't know if you text them or whatever to say you're doing this or that. Like I said, it might be just a quick communication. And like I said, with another important part of communication is actually listening as well, not just talking, but listening. So like I said, so for verbal communication to be effective, there has to be a similar amount of talking and listening. If one or both people do lots of the talking but no one's listening, there's not sort of much communication happening there, is it, if you're both just competing with each other? So like I said, and good listening, it isn't easy, and I'll just go for a few tips to help develop sort of better listening skills. One's to look at the speaker, and that's a bit hard here too when I'm reading a lot as well, but you should be sort of said looking at the speaker, not at the floor, out the window, or your hands on your phone or your watch or whatever. And like I said, give your full attention. Like, don't try to do something else or think about something else. Like I said, that can be just multitasking, which could be overrated if you're trying to get your message across to someone. So concentrate on what's being said to you. And like I said, listen for main ideas. Try to grasp the bigger picture, the overall meaning of what you are being told. And keep your personal opinion out of it. Try to hear the other person's point of view and understand their message, even if you don't necessarily agree with it. Okay, and let them finish. Like I said, interrupting, jumping in to finish someone's sentences and changing the subjects. Like I said, really, it's just rude. Let the other person finish speaking before offering your opinion. And let them know that you're listening. Like I said, by doing things like nodding or smiling, or like I said, it's showing that you, and some of you doing that, you're probably trying to say that you're listening to me as well, and maybe you are, I don't know. Okay. Okay, so you need to explain the ideas and requirements clearly, and need to listen to any verbal instructions and discussions. And like I said, ask any questions to confirm these understanding. Okay, so another performance criteria in receiving information on ideas is to seek input from internal and external sources, just to be able to develop and refine new ideas and approaches. And like I said, I'm sure this happens here on a regular basis. You would need to follow accepted communication practices and protocols, which I'm sure you all have here. Like, not that I know it all, but you've got your certain procedures that you go against to assist in building and maintaining that positive working relationships, either with workmates or with your job seekers, or whatever it is that you're dealing with. All right, so you also need to be able to respond to instructions or inquiries promptly and in accordance with organisational requirements. So with this, meaning to plan and implement routine tasks and workloads, making limited decisions on sequencing, timing and collaboration, and seeking assistance in setting these priorities. All right, and the second element, which is very important in any organisation, is in completing workplace documentation and the correspondence. Something I'm sure you all here constantly doing to correspondence. It's like any job. My old police job is half of it is more correspondence than anything else, and it's probably exactly the same here. You probably like to be out doing more assisting job seekers, but you've got to do all the correspondence, I'm sure, that you've all got to do. Okay, so with this, you'll need to be able to present written information on ideas in a clear and concise language, like to ensure the person intending to get it knows what you're talking about and it's understood by the recipient. And I'm sure this might be more straightforward, submitting information, say, to your manager or so, when we're, say, dealing with a low intellect job seeker, like I said before, you might have to explain it and show them step by step in a slow procedure, hoping to help them complete the forms or whatever they've got to do to apply for a job or what, so forth. So with those range statements, like I said, those statements, they relate to the unit of competency as a whole. So it allows for different work environment and situations that may affect your performance. So essential operating conditions that may be present with training and assessment, and that's depending on the work situation, needs to calibrate accessibility to the item and local industry and regional context. Okay. And they may include communication equipment. This would be your emails and so forth. Verbal communication, organisational requirements, and also all your written stuff. That's your briefing notes, your emails and stuff like that. All right. Okay, so you would need to develop simple written text using appropriate grammar, spelling and punctuation in accordance, like I said, with your punctuation. That's right. What do I say? Punctuation. I think I'm trying to read it too quick again. So punctuation in accordance with job link format. Right, so also be drafting and presenting correspondence with designated timelines. You must also be aware to ensure presentation of written information meets the standards and style, format, and it's accurate in what you're presenting to, say, your team lead. I don't know if it's team leaders, managers here, whichever you go to. Okay, so you need to complete workplace forms and documentation in a clear, concise and easy to read format. And this can be using your digital technology to record, which is like your email, so forth, record or communicate basic information. All right, so the third element is communicate in a way that responds positively to individual differences. So here you need to value all individuals and treat them with respect, courtesy and sensitivity. Like I said, I'm sure it happens here all the time. You'd be courteous and sensitive, not being hopefully too rude to your job seekers or anything. I don't. Okay. Yeah, no. Okay. Okay, so, and also you need to take into consideration cultural differences in all sort of verbal and non-verbal communication. And like I said, I'm sure here you're dealing with job seekers and from various cultures and backgrounds all the time, so you might have to adjust the way you deal with one client to the next. Like I said, it's like same with me in the driving lessons from different cultures. Some find a lot harder to understand than others do. So like I said, you just got to change your way you're adapting to them just so they can understand what you're trying to get across to them.
I think it's sort of coming down to their levels sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'll just show that you're talking there. Yeah, so
I think it's sort of coming down to their level of, I suppose, intelligence.
Yeah, and that's what I think this whole unit on the communication. It's like I said, I talk to, say, you, Joe, a lot different than I talk to one of these once I'm giving a lesson to some that may not even appear to want to be in the lesson. They feel like they have to be in it. So you're treating them a bit different than, say, you would talking to you. And like I said, changing the way you, like anything, like being out when I'm out talking to someone at the pub who might be different than when I am talking here to you lot. So
and we've seen people that come in that have driving lessons with you that actually don't want to be here, but after talking to you, you've engaged them really well, and they're quite excited about going.
Yeah, and I've seen that too. Some are nervous to even want to do it to start off, and then after a few lessons, they get the swing of it. And I'm sure it's the same when you've got them in here doing training courses. They might not want to do it at the start, but after a while, they start to get used to it. Well, that's what they tell me when ones that have done other courses here, and they're happy with them.
Yeah.
All right, so like I said, you need to make efforts to use basic strategies to overcome that language barriers, which I'm sure, like I said, occurs here all the time.
Sorry, can I just ask a question on that? With the language barriers and that, not particularly here, but in Newcastle they have a large group of non-English speaking people that uses translators and that sort of stuff. Can you think of anything else that you might use for?
And I've heard that. I've had that here, like I said, say with not here in the JobLink clients, but I've other clients say it's going that have paid for lessons and can't speak a word of English. And obviously then you're trying to show things and demonstrate, which is much harder than trying to talk to someone straight out. I can't read that. Okay, so like I said, you need to be able to ensure that behaviour is consistent with legislative requirements, enterprise guidelines and all the social protocols. So here you need to know what these protocols are, and which I'm sure you know exactly what your protocols are here, and you need to understand responsibilities of roles and that it complies with the correct appropriate legislative, regulatory and organisational requirements. And like I said, another one I've talked about before is teamwork here in the community with each other as well. And like I said, teamwork, that involves basically being able to work in a team. I'm sure you all do that here constantly, every day. You're all here together sort of thing most of the time. So, and this is where you need to be able to demonstrate that you display courtesy and be helpful to your fellow workers at all times. You need to be able to identify and display a non-discriminatory attitude in all engagements with fellow staff members, with your management and also with your clients. So you need to be able to recognise common differences in other people and implement basic strategies to address your own reaction to these differences. And like I said, I'm sure you all hear about arguments with the clients you're dealing with that might not want to do this, like I said, and you might have to argue. I'm sure that happens in every walk of life. Used to happen a lot with me, probably more in the previous jobs in the police than it does now. But I've had arguments in the car every now and again, not often in the driving school, but there could be an argument over something, and I'm sure you have them all here as well. And like I say, basically you need to be able to recognise those common differences in other people and implement basic strategies to address your own reaction to these differences. And like I said, you'll need to be able to contribute to an effective working environment by communicating with others, by behaving courteously and using non-discriminatory language. Try not to be swearing at them all the time, which I hope you don't. Okay, and as part of working in a team, you need to complete allocated tasks, be able to review documentation to identify relevant information for the requirements of the job role and within this organisation. And like I said, I had 25 years in the police, and I was a team leader, a sergeant for many years, and I had a team under me. And like I said, I used to have to work with that team, and I'd give them goals to do and they'd achieve them. If they didn't, they'd be chastised by me, or after me being chastised by senior people to me. So that's just, I'm sure it happens. I don't know if it happens here, if you get chastised by management or not, but if it has to happen, it happened. Like I said, you might have to discipline them, and that's what that is. And it's nothing personally, it's just, like I said, part of your role as being senior in the organisation, which I'm sure, like I said, I'm not here all day. I'm only in and out of here. So, okay. All right, so I'll just go through. So what we've been hearing here is in the elements, and each of the elements' performance criteria is within this unit of competency, and this unit of competency was communicate in the workplace. So in the performance evidence, we see that it is evidence of the ability to, and this is evidence of the ability to communicate information and ideas verbally and non-verbally, taking cultural differences and language barriers into consideration, and about producing written material used routinely in a day-to-day work, which is clear, concise, and effectively convey the intended meaning of the recipient, completing the workplace forms, using style, format, and level of accuracy appropriate to the type of written material, providing prompt responses to requests for information in accordance with organisational requirements. Okay, and to complete the unit requirements safely and effectively, you must firstly identify any organisational policies, plans and procedures which detail the organisation's, like here, job link standards or protocols for workplace communication, being able to describe different communication styles, outline barriers to communication, and like I said before, working in a team environment. Okay, so now with all of this, any assessment, it must be conducted in a safe environment where evidence gathered demonstrates consistent performance of typical activities experienced by individuals using interpersonal communication skills in the workplace, and which includes access to the office equipment, business resources, workplace policies and procedures relating to communication, case studies and, like I said here, real situations, and interaction with others. So like I said here, you sort of come into this conclusion of this competency. So hopefully now you're a bit more clear picture of the various different elements of being able to communicate in a workplace. All right. Now, does anyone, let's see if you have any questions. Carl, you have a...
You spoke earlier about communication. Do you think that culture, nationality, gender, or social class have an effect on your communication?
Yeah, just trying to think what I had that one. Yeah, I think the factors can change with everything when it comes to that writing and the communication. So it's basically, it's in the literature, possibly looking up source monitoring, or as I remember it being people's inherent ability to always access the source of the information and being able to gather it for yourself personally.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's just a cup off the hand. I'm not, like I said, I haven't really thought too much about it. So,
yeah.
All right.
From a management point of view, what things would you take into consideration, or what things do you think you need to keep? I know that everyone will be different. Things that you need to keep in consideration when managing like the schedules of your staff or team leaders or other managers.
All right, thanks, Joe. Oh, like I said, when you're managing the schedules of others, you need to sort of consider like the adequate time between appointments. Don't sort of give them too much appointments where they're running out of time to complete them. Fix that.
Yeah, I suppose that's setting them up for failure.
If not giving them enough time, giving them breaks, meal breaks and stuff in the meantime. How many appointments are practicable in one day? You wouldn't want to give one of the girls here, 15, 20 appointments when they can only get through, confidently 12 a day. I don't know how many, you do a day, but if it was 12 or something, or it could be, I'm probably way lower than what you probably do a day, I don't know.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like I said, the length of time it takes to complete the project. So basically setting realistic deadlines. That's just all what I'd be saying. Giving them time to travel. They might have to, I know you do a lot of things up at Tamworth and stuff like that. You need time to be able to travel up there and stuff like that. So things like that. All right. Now, did anyone else have any more questions?
Yep.
Oh, where else? Jess?
So we work in quite a big office. So what would we do if you find, it's difficult working with certain team members or managers or anything like that? So any strategies?
Oh,
around
yeah.
that?
So, like I said, when I was talking about teamwork, but you might have a problem with your fellow team member, I suppose,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, I think you just got to be honest with them and keep a positive tone. Like I said, as much as you might not want to spend after you finish work with them down at the club or something all day, but during the work you'd want to treat them with their respect and honesty and try and sort out. Like I said, this is only the top of my head. It's not something I'd be sitting down trying to work out for you. But like I said, it's just how long it takes to sort of get through it, and even then, maybe speaking with your manager or your supervisors for assistance, and I'm sure you don't all. It appears to me like you all sort of get along here, but I'm sure you have your differences every now and again with different things. Like it's like anything in any workplace or friendship you have with people, you have different problems. So.
Yeah, it happens.
I guess that would come back to, changing the way you're communicating and verbal and non-verbal communication skills and stuff like that.
And I think the uniqueness of this particular site is that they do have differences, but they are open and honest, as you said, to be open and honest with each other, and they sort it out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sort it out between themselves and move on.
And like I said, I don't think you have to love each other dearly as great friends. Like I said, as long as you can get on, I suppose.
Yeah.
Professional level, I
guess.
Yeah.
And like it's different with me. I haven't sort of worked in a team now a good, like I was over 10 years driving instructor, where you're sort of just working, not with anyone really, probably sort of by yourself the whole. I've worked, say, with Joe and stuff, with doing job link and stuff, but it's not like I'm sitting there. I'm not in these team meetings with you and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
All right, was that all the questions, I think? Yeah. Oh, well, like I said, really just I appreciate the time you've given me. I know you've all got lots of stuff to do, and being able to do this here in this environment where it's got all our good social distancing, and it's much better than me trying to work it all out on Skype and Zoom and stuff, which is what I think a lot of these students would be doing now, but aren't even, like I said, Joe said you had this big room and you could all space out, so hopefully it's been okay, and I'll let you know if it's all marks all good or not.
Thanks,
if not, I might have to annoy you all again in another time. All right, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you.